Next, we have Lisa Ranglin, who's the president of the Rhode Island Black Business Association, and here to tell us a bunch of good stuff about both of these bills.
Hello, everyone. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Lisa Ranglin, and I currently serve as president for the Rhode Island Black Business Association. So these two bills are critically important, not just to me, but to my community as a whole. When I look around this room, I don't see that many people that looks like me. But if these two bills become reality, then of course, will certainly have a big impact on not just the urban core or the communities of color, but across our amazing state. So in my mind, I see these as no-brainers, right? And folks say, don't say that, Lisa. But really, when we talk about the minimum wage, let's kind of take them one at a time and focus on the impact. As we know, no one should be living in poverty. We know that no one should be not able to provide for their kids. I remember many, many years ago, I was working in the factory. My mom and I came from Jamaica. And we were very poor. And we lived in a one-bedroom apartment that has everything in there. The stove, the bed, mattress on the floor. And we were making, I think at the time I was making about $3.75 an hour. I was working in the factory. And I can tell you, this was a big house on Westminster Street. We could not afford curtains. So we migrated, came from Jamaica, we're here, we're living in this one-room apartment, making minimum wage, cannot even afford to put curtains on the windows, right? Can't even afford to buy food. So we would sometimes eat just rice, beans, noodles, whatever we could scrape by. As I got into college and through my career, I actually was able to find employment still as a woman of color, black woman, underpaid. I remember when I started college, I wanted to get into computer science, and I was told, girl like me, don't really pursue that career. And again, one, I couldn't afford it, and two, I was not the right color. Again, when I started my career and looking at it from the point of view of what should I make? Keep in mind, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm learning all kinds of amazing things and started to really know my value. And I also know that I was really talented. So how do I walk into an office and says, here's what I should be making? And I was basically told, no. Regardless of your skill set, regardless of how smart you are, this is what you're going to get. And when I kind of poked around, I found out guys that I was actually doing their work for them, that they were actually overpaid or getting a lot more money than I was at the time. So when I look at what my counterparts are making, and when I talk to folks, not just in my career from a corporate standpoint, but as an organization, talking to my members of the association, and one of the things that they say, it's very imperative that they have workers that show up. As I mentioned earlier, I represent the Rhode Island Black Business Association, so I'm looking at it from the point of view of not just raising the minimum wage, which is critically important, but also ensuring that we're providing the support that companies need, because if we're going to say, and we should pass $15 an hour minimum wage here in the state, we have to ensure that businesses are also getting the support they need so they can grow and thrive, so it's not going to be an adverse impact on those businesses. But we also have to ensure that when folks show up to work, they're not working 80 hours a week, because if they do that and they show up to the next job, they can't perform, right? So we have that domino effect. Folks are working up to 80 hours just to make ends meet. It's really, really not a win-win across the board. But if we, really work on these two bills, and I think as a state we can do this, I think it's a win-win across the board, we should. I look at this, it's not just folks of color that's going to benefit from this bill, right? And it's not just some of us, but it's all of us. When I go from job to job, I don't need to disclose that I was underpaid. I should be compensated for what I'm worth. I should be compensated for the value that I bring to the table. And I should not be compensated based on what I look like, right? And what I've seen, and not just this week, I said no to a job because I know that I was worth more. I should be compensated for the value that I bring to the table. Families, think about low-income families, families that really scrape by to make ends meet. $15 minimum wage is the right number. It should be a lot higher, but certainly a great start. So as the president of the association, and my members told me I got to be very careful, Lisa, make sure that you're looking at it broadly, holistically. $15 minimum wage is critically important, as I said before, but we must pass these two bills. These are common sense bills, and we must also, as an overall, invest in small businesses, because if small businesses are growing and thriving, they will be able to afford to pay $15 an hour, and they will be able to hire folks, and folks will not have to work up to 80 hours. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I think, as I mentioned before, all of us can see great success in these two bills. My daughter is coming out of college with a master's degree. May 21st is her graduation, and I want to ensure that when she walks into Ernst & Young, that accounting firm, with a CPA later this year, that she's going to be compensated for what she's worth, not based on her gender or her skin color. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity.